Throughout history, there have been women whose lives took a dark turn, leading them down a path of murder and mayhem. We tend to think of these women as monsters, and maybe they are. But how did they get that way? What combination of nature and nurture could lead someone to commit such unspeakable acts? Today we explore the chilling stories of the top 5 murderous women. These are not just tales of crime, they are stories of betrayal, madness, and the complexities of the human psyche. First on our list is Elizabeth Bathory. She was born in 1560, a different time obviously, but even then what she was accused of was shocking. Bathory was a Hungarian noblewoman who became infamous for bathing in the blood of young girls. Hundreds of them, they say. She believed it would keep her young. I mean, you hear a story like that and you have to wonder, is it true or is it just a good story? People love a good story, especially if it confirms their worst fears about women, about power, about what goes on behind closed doors. Bathory was never tried, by the way. She was too powerful for that, but she was imprisoned in her castle, walled up in her own home. Can you imagine? To die slowly alone with only the ghosts of your victims for company. Aileen Wuornos. She wasn't born into nobility like Elizabeth Bathory. She was born into poverty, into abuse. By the time she was a teenager, she was living on the streets, selling her body to survive. Is it any wonder she ended up on death row? In the late 1980s, Wuornos killed 7 men in Florida. She said it was self-defense. Said they were all Johns who had tried to hurt her. The jury didn't buy it, but I can't help but wonder, what if they had believed her? Would it have changed anything? Chapter 3. The Lady Vanishes. Belle Gunness. She was a Norwegian immigrant who came to America looking for a better life, and for a while it seemed like she found it. She married, had children, bought a farm, but then her husband died. And then her children died, and then her farm burned down. And through it all, Belle just kept getting richer. Seemed like every time a man came to visit Belle, he disappeared, vanished, without a trace. The police started asking questions, but Belle had an answer for everything. Then they found the bodies, dozens of them, buried in her backyard. Belle Gunness disappeared before the police could arrest her. Some say she faked her own death and started a new life. Others say she's still out there somewhere, waiting for her next victim. Chapter 4. The Giggling Granny, Nanny Doss. She was a grandmother, a Sunday school teacher, a pillar of her community. She was also a serial killer. Over the course of 3 decades, she poisoned 4 husbands, 2 children, her mother, 2 sisters, a grandson, and a mother-in-law. And she giggled about it. That's what really got to people, the giggling. It was like she didn't even understand the gravity of what she'd done. Or maybe she did. Maybe that was the scariest part of all. Chapter 5. Love and Death in the Digital Age. Jodi Arias. Hers is a story of our time, a story of love and obsession in the age of social media, a story that played out not in the shadows but in the full glare of the spotlight. In 2008, Arias killed her ex-boyfriend, Travis Alexander, stabbed him 27 times, shot him in the head. It was a brutal crime, and the details laid out in court were enough to make anyone sick. But it was Arias's testimony that really captivated the nation. She was, by turns, charming, defiant, and deeply disturbing. Outro, The Mind of a Murderess. So what have we learned? What can we possibly take away from these stories, these glimpses into the darkest corners of the human heart? I don't have any easy answers. I don't know that there are any. But I keep thinking about something Aileen Wuornos said. She said, I'm one of those people who believe in the past life. And if you were put to death before you come back kind of messed up. Maybe she was right. Maybe we're all just products of our pasts, our traumas, our deepest fears. Maybe there's a little bit of Elizabeth Bathory, a little bit of Aileen Wuornos in all of us, and maybe that's the most terrifying thought of all.